Hello everybody, Christian Jack here in Florida. I know what you're thinking. What's he doing in an ice rink? Well, stick with me. You're going to want to hear this clip that I've got for you. One of the many things that fascinate me about sports is leadership, and in particular talking to some of the great leaders in different sports. So I came here to speak to two-time champion and one of the greatest coaches in North America, Paul Maurice. You may remember my conversation with Jesse Marsh a couple of days ago when we talked about Maurice, and also how Jesse Marsh has talked about giving players the autonomy now to lead. Well, that's what I wanted to talk to Paul Maurice about. He knows what it's like to win. So I asked Paul Maurice what it's like to have true leaders inside that dressing room to help him become a winner.
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to get the right analogy. Like if you got 1,000 fires burning in a room, and as coach, you got to pick the top 2 or 3, and a whole bunch will disappear. If you can get the big fires burning out, that's kind of the coach's job. But if you got leadership in a room, you've only got 3 or 4 fires burning, right? You only got 2 or 3, and usually that's technical, right? We're not forechecking. There's a piece to our game we're trying to fix, so it makes your job. You can focus all your energy and resources on the 2 or 3 important hockey-specific, sports-specific things, because all of the other stuff, the details, that we don't chase around here. Like, there's no fine for being late for a meeting, because nobody's ever late for a meeting. I don't have to deal with it. If a guy walks in late, we'll chirp him so bad because it never happens. We actually have a little bit of fun with it. So all of the culture kind of accountability things, if the coach is in the room sorting those out, you got a real problem, right? So I don't see any of those problems because they just don't happen because the leaders don't do it, right? There's not an issue, and if there is an issue, it gets sorted out real quick, real fast. Leadership is everything, and it allows us all to stay in our lane. I think coaches have a really important job, but it should be a small job, and it should be technical, and it should be, yeah, there's a motivation component to that, but if you spend a lot of time on motivation, you're not winning. You're just not, right? That has to be driven by your room. So that part of the culture is the most important piece. You need talent in your room, and you need culture in your room as the 2 most important drivers. You can have a great bunch of guys, and they will fight and scratch and claw, and you as a coach will love that year, but you're not winning. But not everybody does. So in pro sports, if you're not going to win, that's the room you want. Good bunch of guys that play their asses off for each other. But eventually, to get to that top, you have to have a level of talent that does it as well. And then your job becomes really defined as the leader. Find the 2 or 3 big fires, and then it'll put the rest of them out.
I came here to talk to Paul Maurice, their head coach, the 2-time champion of the Stanley Cup, to ask him about what it's like to hear his country, Canada, refer to him as being a mentor when Jesse Marsh talks about true leaders that he can learn from. Here's his reaction.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Really appreciate that. He's clearly overrated me. I got one job, and that's to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can about our team and where we're at and what we need to do. And there's 8 of us that work in the coaching staff, and there's just 8 coaches. I can't do the other 7 guys' jobs. They're all really good at it. I don't try to do their jobs. But we're good because our players are good. We have good players, good men, and they compete hard, and they care, maybe more than that. They really do care about each other. So this is my job here is not to let these guys down. Learn as much as I can, study the game as we find out where we are, and present to them not what I think they need, what they need.
Ahead of the World Cup next summer, where every game matters, Maurice was later asked about managing in Game 7s. Win or you go home. Here's what he had to say.
I read this great book once called Driving in the Rain. Really good book. And there's a great line in it about it's about a race car driver, and it's by the time you get to the race, if you're thinking on the track, you're dead. So you'll do all of your prep, all of it. And by the time you get to the game, you just play. The work's done. The result will present itself in 2.5 hours, but that has to be your finest moment of enjoyment, which is a difficult word, and I'm not exactly sure I was enjoying walking out to the bench in Game 7. A little tighter than that. But if you have faith in the work, right, if that's something that you believe you've done, then Game 7s are just about joy, playing the game, because there's nothing left to do. If you haven't done your work, you're not winning anyway. So if you've done your work, then you get to have fun.